sound of Asian Britain on digital TV, iPlayer and online.
This is BBC Asian Network.
Indeed it is, the BBC Asian Network, and I'm coming at you from London's TVC, which is Television Centre. And a very good afternoon to you. All right, we have an hour which I know is going to be relevant to so many of you listening to the BBC Asian Network right now, and I hope it's relevant to you personally. And if it is, get your questions in, because if you're having a bit of a nightmare trying to get a visa, or someone in your family is, perhaps a prospective wife or husband, maybe your time in the UK is up and you want to know how to renew your stay. Well, this afternoon our guru is an immigration lawyer who's going to be on hand to offer you any advice that you need. So if there's any immigration related questions that you have about staying here, length of stay, student visas, etc., then please get your questions in. They've got quite complicated, so get the questions in now so we can start working on them. 81869 is the text number. Send us an email, nihal@bbc.co.uk.
On digital TV, iPlayer and online.
The sound of Asian Britain.
Asian Network.
Oh, what a tune, Kojadare. Very good afternoon to you, Nihal, on the BBC Asian Network, and we have an immigration guru with us this afternoon. So, is your visa close to running out and you're too scared? Perhaps it's already run out. You know someone and you're too scared to get it, to get it back again because you think you might get kicked out of the country. And what about potential husband or wife in another country? How do you get them over? About student visas. We would like to get your questions in this afternoon to our man Harjap Singh Bhangal, who is going to be here as an immigration guru. This guy knows all about this complicated system. So please get your questions in on 81869 or give us a call on 08459 440 445.
Is this even working? I'm feeling quite silly now. Let's do one more mahoo-ha, right? I'm coming.
Tommy Sandu, coming soon. Weekdays from 3 p.m. BBC Asian Network. Oh no.
Tommy Sandu, big look indeed. Harman has emailed in already. I'll read that email out in a little bit. But I would like to put to you these different scenarios. Perhaps having a problem getting a visa. Maybe you want a family member from back home to come stay with you in the UK. Maybe you're a newlywed having trouble bringing your partner over. Excuse me. Well, my next guest will be able to help. Harjap Singh Bhangal is our immigration guru, and he's going to be able to offer you advice on your immigration related questions. So please get them in. 81869, that is the text number. Email nihal@bbc.co.uk or pick up the phone 08459 440 445. Harjap, good afternoon to you, my friend.
Good afternoon, Nihal.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Not a problem.
I know we're going to get run over, literally, with questions, as you always do when you do your TV stint on this as well. So I would very much like you to speak to Jaswant in Peterborough, who has just called in. You can do the same thing, 08459 440 445. Jaswant, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
What would you like to ask Harjap?
Well, I want to ask him, how long does the Home Office Croydon take to, when you post a passport to them, to have that the given leave to remain in the United Kingdom stamp on there?
Indefinite leave to remain, is that?
Is that after being married here? Is that
No. My wife's passport had run out, right? She's already got the stamp on there. On
okay,
the
so it's just a transfer of conditions, basically.
Yeah, so we've sent it off to them, and it's been 15 weeks now, right?
15 weeks?
Yeah, that is quite long. It usually only takes between 4 to 8 weeks.
Right, it's been 15 weeks, right? And they've cashed £160, right?
Yeah. How long ago did they do that?
In October, they took the money.
Right. What you really need to do is to phone up Croydon. I
did yesterday.
And what did they say?
Well, they told me that there's nothing they can do, right?
Yeah.
It's with the caseworkers, I told them, I said, well, we want to go to India,
That's
right?
You probably want to travel.
Plans.
What usually happens, it usually only takes between 4 and 8 weeks. Now, instead of posting it, if you wanted to travel, you could have gone on the same day option. Which,
£500.
Yeah, yes. That's what I was going to say.
£500.
They charge you extra for that.
It was free before.
Yeah, it used to be, but what's happened is the costs of, policing immigration in this country have gone up, so they've decided to get it back from the taxpayer.
And they told me, they said, if you want to travel, we can send your passport back to you.
Yeah,
but I said, what about the fee? They said, no, we can't return the fee.
Yeah, you're not going to get that back. I can tell you that straight away. Getting fees off.
Good, is it?
Yeah, getting the fees off.
Blood and stone, perhaps.
Or trying to buy next door off an Asian. You're never going to get that back. And what you need to do is really, you can. There's two issues, right? You can either phone up Croydon every day and bug them, but you're not going to get any joy. The second alternative is to contact your MP. And what they have to do is reply to his correspondence, usually within about 28 days. So he'll probably try and get it up above out the queue and get it back. But I would think now that it's pretty near to conclusion that you should be getting it back in about a week or two.
Yeah, but I didn't send it myself. I gave the solicitors a fee to send it for me.
Right, really? Then
I've sent it through a solicitor.
Well, what your solicitor should be doing is chasing this up then. What you really need to do is go to your solicitor and tell him, look, I'm not happy with the service, I want you to chase this up, and, usually comes back within 8 weeks. Why is it taking double that amount? And hopefully then
No, but when you're in Croydon, they tell you it's 14 weeks.
Yeah, but no,
Well, you're over that already.
You're over it already.
Yeah, I know, yeah. But at Croydon, they tell you 14 weeks, so I thought I'll wait till 14 weeks.
14 weeks is usually very unusual for a simple thing like this. To be honest, we do stuff like this, and it comes back between 4 and 6 weeks, 8 weeks at maximum.
For Juswant's peace of mind, what would usually be causing such a delay? Because actually, it's just a transfer of paperwork, really, isn't it? I mean, they're not going to deny the indefinite leave to remain because it's already there, it's in place.
What it is nowadays they're just getting a lot more scrutiny because of the large amounts of immigration fraud that's taking place. So what they do now is they check every single application, looking at old Home Office records. Plus, there is a massive backlog of cases in the Home Office. Okay. You're looking at about a backlog of 350,000 cases.
350,000
cases. That's just by their own admission.
Oh, you'd be lucky then.
You need to get your lawyer to go and harass them, and you should be all right.
But that's going to cost him more money, isn't it, Juswant?
It is going to cost him more money. But
you know what he said to me? I said, shall I bring 500 quid? And then you'd do it the same day. He said, yeah, we do it the same day then.
Yeah, what I would advise people is if you're going to travel, don't use the postal service. Go on the same day at Croydon or, on Birmingham, Solihull, there's a centre there. And pop down there and get it done in one day. And
definitely don't book flights until you've got your passport in your hand.
Yeah, us lot are like. We usually book a wedding and we ain't even booked our limos.
Absolutely. Juswant, thank you very much for that. Harman on the email said, thanks for keeping up the good job. Thank you very much for that, Harman. My query for today is, if it is possible to get my parents into this country, I'm working here for the past 2 years on the highly skilled migration programme, which you, I'm sure, Harjap is well aware of, and that's a visa with that HSMP
that's right,
visa. I've got my visa renewed for another 3 years, after which I'll be eligible for permanent residency.
That's right.
My question is, if it is possible for my parents to migrate here on a permanent basis once I get my permanent residency. This is because there is no one to take care of them back home in India.
What it is, it's at the moment, until he gets indefinite leave, he can't call his parents over on a permanent basis.
Right, okay.
You can call parents here on a permanent basis, but usually the rules are quite strict, and I'll go into them. One, they usually have to be over 65 years old.
Okay.
Two, they can't usually have anybody in India to turn to, so it's not as if she can be living with 5 brothers, you have her 5 sons
How
out
can
there.
the Home Office find that out?
Well, when you apply, you have to apply overseas, and they've got links everywhere. The British High Commission usually have cells, usually retired army people, in, I'm not talking about Duracell batteries, but I'm talking about cells, talking about people in people villages who go out and actually go to the village, and they'll ask a kid as he's walking past.
So don't try and blag it,
basically don't try and blag it, they'll find out.
Right, okay.
So they've got to be on their own, and the main thing is they've got to be totally financially dependent upon you. Emotionally and financially dependent. So basically they can't be millionaires or be living in flats with air conditioning and wicked televisions and wide screens out there. They must be in a really bad state to come over here. Yeah, that's the condition.
They'll visit. So even if they're on their own, but they live in a great house with plenty of domestics and all that.
Yeah, you are not going to get into this country on a permanent basis.
My
and
gosh.
a lot of people don't know the rules because they think, because when me and you hear about these rules, we'll think, oh, it's so easy, loads of people are coming over. But actually, it's a really tough guideline. And unless you are in a real bad state over there, sometimes they even come to check your house to see what state of repair it is in. And in interviews, they'll ask your parents, do you have a fan? Do you have a TV? Do you have a fridge? If you've got facilities like this...
And if you answer yes to any of those, it could undermine...
Yeah, if you say, yeah, I've got a cook, and I've got a gardener, and
I give my chauffeur 5 days a week.
Yeah, Porsche Cayenne and all that, They're going to say, OK, mate, we don't really think you're financially dependent upon your children.
Right, OK, that's interesting. So, in Harman's case... really don't even think about it until you yourself have got permanent residency.
Until he's got permanent residency.
He's going to have to wait another 3 years then.
Yeah, basically. And plus, make sure you fulfil these conditions.
Right, but before Harman gets permanent residency, if Harman can prove that his parents are over 65 and living in a state of squalor...
Yeah. He can't apply for it until he gets permanent residency.
Oh, right, okay, absolutely not.
Yeah,
right,
because what you'd be having is people who are not permanent themselves calling their parents over, and then, it's just, the government just doesn't allow it. What Harman has got to watch out for is that in the meantime, they don't come over as visitors, because to come over as a visitor, you have to show you're well settled in your own country, right? So if I apply to come over as a visitor, so if your parents come over to apply for visit, I'm going to show, right, I've got loads of money, got a big house and it's valued, at 50 lakh rupees and stuff like this, and I've got 3 cars. If they show that, then when they are 2 years later trying to apply for a permanent residency...
Claiming poverty.
Yeah, they're going to pull out the file and say, hold on, son, where's all this land gone? And where's all that money gone that you've sold from it, and who's driving your motors now, basically?
Right,
so this is what's going to happen. Yeah, so
think
if you're
3 steps ahead.
Yeah, you've got to think ahead. Because to come over as a visitor, you've got to show exactly the opposite of what you've got to show over to come over permanently.
If poor Harman wants to see his parents, he's going to have to go to India on a holiday.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
No. So just quickly on this HSMP visa, you can come back and forth? Because I know on some student visas you can't, can you?
No, on student visas you can come back and forth, and on HSMP visas you can.
Right,
HSMP is no longer there. It's called a Tier 1 under the new points-based system.
Okay.
But what it was mainly for is people who've got a high skill and can come here and be self-sufficient and provide for this country, try and fill some sort of shortage occupations and stuff like that. He can come and go.
So
He's
a
got
net
no
contributor as opposed to...
basically,
So a net exploiter.
Yeah.
Let's speak to Rashpal. 08459 440 445 is the number. We have the fantastic Harjap Singh Bhangal here as our immigration guru. Any visa-related questions that you have, anything to do with immigration, get those questions in right now. We only have him for another 40 minutes. Going to play some music as well, so I know we're going to get inundated. So please, get your questions in. Rashpal in Bedford, hello.
Hello, Nihal.
How are you, my friend?
Very good, sir. Very good. You got a great show.
Thank you very much, Rashpal. I like to think so, once in a while. What would you like to ask Harjap?
Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Harjap Paji for बहुत ही बहुत भाजी ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ
ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਐਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਬੰਦਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲੋੜ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ industry ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਮਾਈ ਪਾਈ ਪਈ ਆ
Thank you very much. Hopefully stays reasonably.
Right, not all of us speak Punjabi, Rashpal. Sri Lanka.
I'm sorry, Nihal. I'm very sorry. Yeah.
No, don't apologise, my friend. It's a beautiful language. Don't apologise at all. I would like to be party to the conversation. It'd be quite nice. So anyway, Rashpal, what would you like to ask?
2 questions, very quick ones.
Yeah.
Firstly, these musicians, these singers that come from India, do they actually pay tax?
They should do. What's happened is because they're usually sponsored under something called a Tier 2 visa, right? Or a Tier 5 as a migrant worker. So a company shows we're going to employ them. The company should pay tax on their earnings.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're not allowed to come here as self-employed singers and do that unless they're on a HSMP. When you come under a work permit, the condition is you have to work for that company as an employee. So they should have a national insurance number and they should be paying tax on earnings. Or, this is what the key is.
If a Bhangra singer is coming from Chandigarh, Jalandhar, or wherever, and coming over here to do 3 gigs, he has to pay tax on the money he earns here.
Yeah, he should do. Technically,
even though he's not resident.
Yeah, but what's happening is, right, he will be sponsored by a company to come and do shows, and that company will promote the show. So Nihal Promotions presents, I don't know, a singer, Mika Singh or something like that in concert, right? Yeah. So you are technically getting paid by the people. He's got no medium with which to collect money, is he? He's not going to stand on the door and charge me a tenner to get in, and then say, mate, go and have a Bacardi and Coke and I'll take £2 on top of that, right? So what's going to happen is, the company makes the money, the company will pay him what he's supposed to be earned, and someone along the line has to pay the tax, either the company or the singer himself.
Quite intrigued, Rashpal. Why are you asking the question?
Reason being, I like to go to all the Bhangra shows in Birmingham.
Yeah.
And last time I was Mangi Mal, he was supposed to come down.
That's right, yeah.
And for whatever reason he didn't, but...
Well, he got refused a visa, if you really want to know.
Okay.
His promoters made some, allegedly, put something with the paperwork was wrong, because I had a chat with Mungie myself.
It's happened to Dallaire Mendy, I believe, before.
It's happened to quite a few, would you believe it?
Yeah,
well, let's not go into names, because we'll end up naming half the industry.
Lab Junjua, I believe it happened to Lab Junjua, I think.
Lember Sandbuddy at the moment.
Right, oh really? Okay.
So it's happened to a few people. But what it is, the reason they're getting refused visas is they're just not filling the forms out correctly.
Right.
And the promoters are not doing it. Promoters are trying to do the jobs of immigration lawyers. It's like me going to a doctor and saying to him, "You hold the scissors while I stitch myself up, mate. Yeah, I know better than you. I know what goes where and this esophagus thing. What's this? We don't need that. Check it out." You know,
probably not a great way to do business. Rushbot, thank you very much indeed. Sheila, good afternoon to you.
Hello there.
Thanks for calling in this afternoon. What would you like to ask Harjap?
I'd like to ask, I got married to a guy from India. He's been in this country for about 9 months.
Okay.
He's on a spousal visa.
Yep.
He's gone through some physical abuse in the marriage, and he's also now just hiding out in London at the moment. I live in the Midlands.
Well, he's been abusive to you?
Yes,
okay.
And it's a second marriage, so there's a son of my previous marriage who's also been abused.
Okay.
I just want to ask the question. I'm currently going through a divorce.
Yep.
For divorce. What tends to happen to the visa or after this divorce?
Well,
It's a very interesting question. This happens a lot, I can imagine.
This is a common scenario, mate, and it happens to, I'm afraid, males and females.
Sorry that you've had to go through it.
What you need to do, Sheila, is first of all, you need to write to the Home Office. If you go on the UK Border Agency website and look at and do a search under marriage breakdown or divorce, there'll be an address there. The evidence department, I think it's called, and what you do is you write to them at Luna House in Croydon and you tell them that my marriage is broken down. You can enclose a copy of his passport and hopefully his name and where he's staying at the moment. And what happens is the Home Office will write to him and will curtail his leave. They should do anyway. What curtailing the leave means is they'll say to his two-year visa, right, that's cancelled. You've got 28 days to leave our country because your marriage is broken down. You came down on the basis of your marriage. You didn't come here to work. You didn't come here because you're shortage occupation. You came here, and the 2-year period is in fact a trial period given by the UK government to see if your marriage actually works out. So you should, whether you're divorced or not, or whether you're going through the process, regardless of that, if your marriage is broken down, i.e. you're not living together, and there's no chance of reconciliation, you need to write to the Home Office.
Yeah, that's fine. I've got the letter put together. It's just that I wasn't quite sure if the divorce had to go through before...
No, it doesn't have to go through. You just have to mention that you're in the process of a divorce, write it to them, send it to them, and what will happen is when he tries to apply in the future, or when they grab hold of him, because remember, he's already been fingerprinted in India, so sooner or later they're going to come across him.
Right, okay, so the only thing is the addresses that have been given in London, it's sort of friends' addresses, the information I've got.
Yeah, whatever you've got, whatever information you've got, you've given it, you know. To be honest, the UKBA haven't actually got time to physically chase everyone in this sort of situation. So what they do is they keep it on file, and they will come across him in their future visits, no problem. And, you know, and they'll say to him, right, your visa actually has been cancelled since this date.
Sorry, Sheila, go on.
There's just one more question I had. His passport is going to be expiring in August this year. So would he apply to this embassy here for that passport as well?
Has he got his passport?
He has his passport, but I have copies.
Right. What he's going to try and do is get that renewed to the Indian embassy.
Right.
Okay. Right. But the Indian embassy are not really going to enforce whether he stays there or not. And to be honest, they're not really...
Interested?
Yeah, not really interested, let's be honest about it.
Right,
yeah,
really?
And, yeah, it's all down to the UKBA.
Right, okay, so if I just make a note of that in my letter to them...
Yeah, if you say to the UKBA his passport's going to expire in August, and he's going to contact the Indian embassy in order to try and renew it, it might be that the UKBA might contact the Indian embassy and say, right, if this guy comes in, let us know and we'll pop down and, you know...
So a spousal visa is different to an indefinite leave to remain. He doesn't have that.
What happens is... the government give you a 2-year visa, give your spouse a 2-year visa as a trial basis.
Right.
And one of the conditions is you have to live together, and you have to get on, and you have to be living together as husband and wife.
Which is clearly not happening.
And you can't be on public funds. Right. If that's not happening, the government say, let us know, and we'll cancel the visa. And after the 2-year period, he was meant to apply for indefinite leave to remain.
Right.
But that's obviously it's not going to happen now.
It's not going to happen.
Well, actually, sorry to interrupt you there.
No, go on.
He can actually stay in this country for up to 2 years, even after the divorce, unless somebody actually physically goes after him.
Yeah, well, unless you report it to the Home Office and they cancel his leave. That's why you've got to report it to the Home Office.
Okay, they'll actually cancel it on their record.
They should cancel it. Yeah.
How can she check up and make sure that they have cancelled it? She can't,
they won't tell you that information.
Right.
Everything's confidential.
Data protection.
Yeah, they'll tell you, right, we've got your letter, thank you very much. And let us deal with it. And what it's going to turn into is going to be a fight between your husband and the Home Office to see who wins, whether they actually chuck him out or whether he manages to stay here by some means.
What I would be intrigued in this case is how he could manage to stay in. If the very reason he's supposed to be is he's married to this lovely lady and now he's not married to her, how could he stay in? What defence grounds could he have?
Welcome to the land of Punjabis. Let me now just give you... I could write a book on this and I'll have to come back in my next 5 lives to complete it.
Mate, I promise you Sri Lankans, I'm sure, are equally up there. Don't worry about that. This goes across all South Asian communities, I can imagine.
Yeah, what they could do is try and get a divorce and try and find someone else to marry. He could try and claim that he's been the victim of violence. There's so many things you could claim to do. But whether he's going to be successful or not is totally different.
Right, okay. Sheila, one last word? Was there anything else you wanted to say?
No, that's fine. That's been very helpful.
Was that been helpful? Brilliant. Well, that's exactly what the Guru is all about. S in Birmingham said, I want to go away to India for a 2-week holiday at the end of March with my friend. She had difficulty getting a visa about 5-6 years ago due to her father being of dual nationality, Pakistani, British. Yeah. It was eventually granted. I've been hearing it's very difficult to get a visa at the moment from a lot of people being rejected. What are the chances my friend will get a visa in time for the end of March?
You need to apply really early. End of March, you've left it well late. I would say you usually need to apply at least 6 months in advance. What they do is, because of the security situation and unfortunately because of the links between the two countries, there is a sort of concern by the Indian government, especially when Pakistanis...
Only her father is half Pakistani. That's enough, is it?
India is a world unto itself, Indian law. Right. So you're entering total regimes there where you've got no... appeals against it, it's pretty much up to them. It's up to you to present your case as in, like, I'm a British citizen. I've been here all my life. And what they usually look at is people who travel regularly between Pakistan and England and try and come into India. Right. And because of the security situation, which is understandable, but there is a lot of unreasonableness going on, and a lot of artists, would you believe, Pakistani artists have been refused visas to go to India.
Really?
Yeah, and it's just the way it is. I mean, it's just the Indian government, when you're entering Indian law, total new realm. And it's best, really, to put your application in nice and early.
Right, okay. Icor has said, I got married in India, and my husband has passed his life in UK test, which is what my wife also passed. And although she said that there were people cheating in it, there was a bloke pulled out of it, he had a Bluetooth headset on, and he was speaking into it. And
I can imagine that, yeah. I'm probably talking in Punjabi.
Apparently he was a Somalian fella, or he looked African, but...
But yeah,
you can always rely on an Asian from racial stereotyping about Asians. Yeah. We get that all the time on this show. Okay, and was due to apply for his indefinite leave early next year. I've not changed my surname on my ID to my husband's surname. Will this pose problems when we apply for his indefinite leave to remain?
Not at all.
No?
No problems. The government understands it's not a rule that you have to change your surname, as I'm sure many women in the UK don't change their surnames. And, the government totally understand it's not really going to be either here or there. Right. What they really want to do is to check, are you still living together? Is your marriage still subsisting? Have you got this language requirement of the life in the UK test? Or the ESOL, which is, you've got 2 alternatives there. That's what and the main thing, are you on any public funds or not?
Right, okay, so don't worry about surnames.
Don't worry about surnames, it'll all be all right.
All right, perfect. Mrs. Kaur, I hope that's all right. Interesting text in from Ali. How can I call over my gay partner from Pakistan? I don't know where to start. We've been together for 5 years.
Right.
Now, this is not a marriage. This is not a spousal in the eyes of the law, is it?
No, it's not really. But there is something called an unmarried partner or civil partnership.
And that will come across same-sex relationships.
Same thing as a spouse visa.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing. And what you really need to show is a genuine relationship, and ideally you should show that, you've lived together for a certain amount of time.
Oh, that's going to be...
Yeah, and that is going to be it. That's not going to be easy.
But
to be honest, I haven't really seen, especially amongst Asians, a lot of successful applications. And haven't seen a lot of these type of applications, to be honest. And something like this might be scrutinised a bit more differently, but the rules are there. You can definitely apply.
But it's very difficult because Ali has said family don't know about it. So when you've got to prove that you've been in a relationship, what kind of criteria are they looking for?
They're looking at evidence of communication, how you communicate, how often you lot stay together, how often you lot have been in contact with each other, stuff like this. And the embassy are sympathetic to these situations, but there's a bunch of rules that have to be satisfied. And if you're not happy in satisfying it, and they'll just refuse you. So you need to have a well-prepared case
and get a good lawyer.
Yeah, you can't really to ask a lawyer, right, I want this all done on the sly without my family knowing, is really, really hard. It's going to be really hard. Yeah, how are we going to show that there's a relationship? They're hardly going to have any photographs of each other, with each other. As you can imagine, you don't go in countries in India and Pakistan taking photos of yourself with another bloke or another woman in the park.
No,
it just doesn't happen.
No,
and I don't even think that in maybe Pakistan there might be a civil partnership type of law where you can actually get married. So, the stuff is you just have to convince the entry clearance officer at the post.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
that's here in the UK.
No, over there.
Over there.
Yeah, but the entry clearance officers, you've got to remember,
will be a British person.
Yeah, they're all from here.
Right,
so
okay.
they will be sympathetic to the situation.
Yes, yeah, a lot more so than someone perhaps from...
Yeah, I can imagine.
Okay, Nina, don't worry, Aman in Birmingham's waiting on the phone. I will get to you, Aman, do not worry about that. 08459 440 445 is the phone number if you want to call up and ask Harjap any questions. Immigration related, he is clearly the man. He's been here for half an hour, you clearly know he's the man. Okay, my sister, who is UK born, legitimately fell for an illegal man from India and married him in a Gurdwara. There was no registry wedding. They have now been married, we've had this discussion this week. They have now been married 2.5 years and have a son. She's worried that if she sends him back to India, they will not allow her to come back, and also does not want to make their small baby out there, as they do not know how long it will take out there, or does not want to take their small baby out there because they does not know how long it will take out there. What should she need to do now to declare their marriage legal?
There's two options here, and the first option is to send him back to India, go there and get a registrar married to him and apply for him to come over as in a normal procedure.
Okay.
However, there might be problems in the fact that he stayed here illegally.
Oh dear.
And that if she gets refused that, or if he gets refused out there, then we'll have to do something called an appeal, and that can take time to come through. You're looking at sometimes over 12 months for him to come back. Right. The other alternative is, there's good news, that now you can apply to get married here, a register wedding. But, and here's the but, the permission takes about 8-9 months to come through. And once you've got a registered wedding here, immigration are then going to say to a husband, right, sunshine, get on the plane, and you've got to apply. Because although you can get married here, if you marry a British citizen, you have to go back to your post to get a visa. And once he's declared himself to immigration, here I am, I want permission to get married, they'll say, all right, have your wedding, have a registered wedding, but soon after they'll say, right.
So they'll register your wedding, and they won't ask about your immigration status when they register your wedding?
They do ask about it, but what happened was, a few years back, the UK government actually outlawed illegal people getting married, saying you can't get married if you're illegal. Somebody challenged that in the High Court and won the case against them. And so what the law now says is that if you're illegal, you can get married in the UK, but if you're married to a British citizen or someone with indefinite leave here, you have to go back to your own country to apply for a visa. What the UK government are going to say is we're not going to circumnavigate our rules for you lot. Now, there's another sort of element to it. If, say, my wife was Dutch or German, under European law, I can get married to her here because they're going to give me permission under that case, right? And I can also apply to stay here.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't have to go back home.
Right. So
if she was German,
French, anyone in the EU,
anyone in the EU who's living here and exercising their EU rights. But because you seem
so you're discriminated against because you're marrying a British person.
That's basically, the law is harder because you're marrying a British person. At some stage or another, this person is going to have to go back to India. Right. And I would advise the sooner the better.
Right.
Just in case they change the rules tomorrow and, make it a lot harder to come back. They're introducing a new language test from abroad soon. So, as in, like, say if you got married abroad, your wife would have your wife would have had to learn English before she could come and join you.
Right, okay.
And for places like, say, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, especially if you're marrying a village girl who's uneducated.
No, I didn't.
How is she going to?
I married a very educated woman. She's more educated.
More educated than yourself.
Yeah, much more educated. She's got a master's,
And that's, so this is going to be a big problem. So the best thing is to go back sooner rather than later.
Right, okay. And we don't have a knowledge as to how long he had been illegal for, and are they going to take that into account? Because if he's like 6 months over, or if there's a month over, fine. If he's been here illegally for 2 years,
well, they are going to have his CV out, mate, on a plate. They are going to ask him when he went, how he entered the UK, what he was doing from A to Z, when he met his wife, how he's been living there, why he didn't come back earlier, and whether he's married here before. Basically, they want to know whole details, and they take all of this into account when you're applying for your visa, and they might hold it against you. The main objection we usually see is that we don't think this marriage is genuine. Now, because they've got a kid,
right, that's a different dimension.
That'll help them.
Absolutely.
So that doesn't mean everyone who's illegal and married start making kids or start having kids. But
good grief.
God bless the NHS. But
good grief. Aman in Birmingham. Sorry to have kept you waiting for so long. Hello, Aman.
Hi.
How are you?
Not bad, thank you.
What would you like to ask Harjap?
Right, I've got a bit of a long-winded one. It's for my uncle. Hi, Harjap.
Hi.
Right, okay, he came to Scotland in 2002 on a student visa, and then my aunt and my little niece joined them in 2003 as dependents.
Yep.
They stayed here for a couple of years, and then in 2005 he sent them back because he was going on to do further education and he didn't have the money to keep them here.
Yep.
He then went on to get, there's a fresh talent working in
That's
Scotland.
right, yeah, if you do a degree in Scotland.
He went on to get that in 2007, which was valid until September 2009.
Yep.
So then he called, wanted to call my aunt and his daughter back.
Yeah.
However, it was refused.
Okay.
So he appealed, but he went back to India in January 2008 because obviously they were quite stressed out with the refusal and everything.
Okay.
The appeal was successful.
Yep.
He came back in January 2009.
Yep.
But then obviously because he was away for the whole year, he obviously lost. You can build up your time here in the UK.
That's right. Yeah.
He lost that because he was away for the whole year.
It counts as a break.
Yeah. But then unfortunately, come July, he had a baby boy who was born with spina bifida.
Right.
Now he's under the treatment of 3 surgeons. This is in Scotland.
Right.
Who are obviously keeping a close monitor on him because of his brain. He's a couple of other aspects. And he's got a shunt in his head as well.
Right.
So his leave was due to end in September 2009. So we applied for further leave to remain, and we put together his case. And he was granted discretionary leave to remain, which is valid until September this year.
Okay.
Now, is there anything that he can do to stay here? Because obviously if he goes back there, medical resources, etc., etc.
Yeah, he should start extending his discretionary leave.
Okay, so then if he applies to extend, I think there's a form that I found, HPDL or something like that, on the website.
Yeah, that might be the wrong form because that's for people who've been refused asylum.
Asylum, yeah, that's where I was getting confused. I mean, I've tried to do obviously research on the internet.
And you need to do an FLRO.
I need the FLRO again.
That's right, yeah. And you need to extend his leave. Once he's been here on 6 years on discretionary leave, he'll get indefinite leave to remain.
Okay, so it's got to be 6 years continuous.
Got to be 6 years, yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be the same form again with the same sort of argument and with fresh evidence of the medical background.
And reasons why they can't go back to India.
Yeah, and that should be the right one to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Did that help?
It did, yes. I've been on the website for about 3 days, constantly looking at every immigration.
And you only had to be here for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You only had to be here for 3 minutes. That's what the BBC Asia Network is here for.
No, it's amazing. I mean, I thought I had the right form, but I could see that it was for asylum.
Yeah.
Refused asylum. So I was thinking.
I was just looking at it last week, actually, so it's still fresh in the brain.
Right.
So I was looking at, and it's clearly that form is only for people who've been refused asylum. Yours will be an FLRO.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much for that.
Okay, thank you very, very much as well. 08459 440 445 is the number. Text 81869 or email all your questions to Nihal at bbc.co.uk for the fantastic Harjap here, who is just quite the Obi-Wan Kenobi of immigration. You are, bro.
Yeah, I like to think myself a bit of a Yoda, really.
You're far too tall to be a Yoda.
The Adil Ray Show on BBC Asian Network.
Hello?
Hey, yo.
So is this my way to get my move from?
Oh, it's MC Ronnie.
Yo, MC when I get into the show next time, link up with me and I'll get you in for free.
Yeah! You're bad, you know. Where did you learn to do that from?
It was just now, man.
So what are you up to then and there?
Right, man, what you do? Bad school?
I don't do school, man. I don't do school anymore.
What do you do? University then?
Yeah, no, I don't do university either. I go to university life, innit?
Yeah, you go to the toilet.
Don't chat to me like that, yeah? You have respect for your elders, do you know what I mean?
The Adil Ray Show, back tomorrow from 7 a.m. on BBC Asian Network.
You can just imagine MC Ra trying to get some of his relatives into the country illegally, can't you? Old MC Ra on the BBC Asian Network. Right. Sanjeev has said, I'm a US citizen. I think we're going to answer this quite quickly, actually. I'm a US citizen that's come over on a company-sponsored visa, Tier 3. Yeah. The visa is good for 5 years, and I've been here for 4 years. Just recently, my company made me redundant. I'm less than 1 year away from getting my UK residency, and I really want to stay. I would like to know what my options are. I've been told by various lawyers that I have to find another employer that has to sponsor me under the same job title and salary. Are there any other options?
To be honest, there's not any other options. It's the same sort of thing. You've got
1 year away.
1 year away, but there might be a way around it. First of all, is Sanjeev married?
Right.
What does she do? And is she educated enough, or can she fit into a separate category? And he can switch to her dependent. So if he's not married, let's say find someone who is educated as a life partner.
Legitimately, yes.
Don't go down to the old, marriage bureaus, as we like to call them.
Quite.
So if
you were just telling me something in the break of things that you've experienced where people have married their own sister or tried to marry their own sisters.
Unfortunately, I don't know whether that's a reflection on how bad our home countries are or how badly people want to come here. But yeah, I've seen cases where people have married their own sisters.
And gone through a religious
ceremony in front of the holy books in order to go abroad. There's one case in Canada a couple of years ago. They came to me and they go, we've got a problem. I said, what's the problem? Oh, well, I sponsored my wife to come over and now the embassy want to do a blood test on me and a DNA test. And I said, well, what's the problem in that? And he goes, the problem is she's my sister. He said it to me blatantly. And she goes, what happened is, when we were doing the interview, the officer saw that our faces looked familiar, and he's asked for a DNA test. And I said, good on the officer, you know. And he goes, what do I do now? Well, I said, well, you find someone else.
It's not funny, but it's so ridiculous that it's funny, but it's not. I mean, it's...
You would not believe the places where immigration fraud goes on in. It goes on in sports clubs, their religious places, it goes on everywhere.
Okay.
And it's just swept under the carpet. We don't like to talk about it.
Right, well, Kushi's are here, and Jatin, don't worry, I'll come to you in a second. Just want to ask Raj from West Bromwich's question. What if you want to send someone back to India? Sent so many letters to the immigration office. Now she left the house because marriage not working. She only married my brother to get a visa to stay here. Please advise.
Right.
I can imagine this is a common one as well.
This is a common one as well. Unfortunately, marriage is now seen pretty much as a joke, to be honest, and especially marrying from foreign countries. I would always advise someone, be totally careful before you sponsor someone. We get scenarios where the couple have only met twice, or someone goes on holiday and gets married in 2 days and decides to bring someone over. You're not going to get to know someone like this. And unfortunately, it's happening more and more. I've seen 4 cases this week where that's happened.
And if you're under 21, you're not getting them back, are you?
Yeah.
They're not coming over until they're 21.
Yeah, they're not coming over till they're 21 for a start. That's the new rules that have come in. But what you should do is you should write to immigration. Now, let me get something right. Immigration are not slaves, right? They're not there to let somebody in when you want them to and then chuck them back when you won't want them to. Right? What they've got a job to do and they've already overloaded. You can write to them. They're not going to go out and headhunt this person and send him back. But
or her back.
But what they will do, they will make a note of it. When they come across that person, they will either curtail their leave or they'll detain them and send them back in their own time. Unfortunately, immigration, the UK Border Agency, haven't got enough manpower to send loads of people on the street looking for illegal immigrants, nor are there places, spaces for these people to be detained anywhere. Right, we have not got the detention centres or the prison facilities to keep these people locked up until you put them on a plane. So all I can say is, as long as you've told immigration, you've done your bit, you need to get it out of your head that you can send her back. You are not the person sending her back. It's a fight now between her and the Home Office, and they will fight it out to see if she can stay here or if they'll be sent back. The Home Office will want to send her back, but they're not at your beck and call. Right. Please, don't.
Yeah, you know, they ain't waiting for your call.
Yeah, it looks. You know, sometimes it is a Mickey take. Right. First, we apply for them to come over. We spend ages fighting the Home Office for them to come over, and the Home Office usually refuse it. We don't think it's genuine. I'll give you a scenario. Right, 65-year-old goes out...
Do you know what, Cushy? I'm going to have to interrupt you, mate, because I've got 3 callers, 10 and loads of texts and emails, but I bet it's a great story.
It is a story, mate.
And we're going to get you back on, so you remember that. Don't worry about that. Cushy in Rugby. Good afternoon, Cushy.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Nihal, you're doing a great job. I always enjoy your program.
Thank you very much for saying so. But today I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here, and Harjap's doing all the hard work. But thank you very much for saying so, Cushy.
It is interesting.
Yeah, well, he's a very interesting bloke. Harjap, what would... sorry, Cushy, what would you like to ask Harjap?
Okay, I'm from Singapore.
Yeah.
Not from India or Pakistan.
Okay.
Okay, I'm from Singapore, and well, I've been here since 2004. The thing is, I need to apply for indefinite leave to remain by February next year. Yeah. And my passport is going to expire by January next year as well.
Yeah.
So if in between, and I'm going back to Singapore to visit some relative, my nephew is sick with cancer.
Yeah.
And if I go to Singapore and come back, get my passport renewed, will it affect my visa?
Nope, it won't. What you need to do is make sure you keep both passports together. Usually you've seen amongst Asian households, we staple some old passports together. The reason for that is so that the visa's still valid, and as long as you got a new passport, but your visa's still valid on your old passport, that's fine. You can do that. And what I'd advise you to do is if your passport's going to expire in, say, January, you can apply up to 6 months before that to renew that.
Yeah, that's it.
So what you should do is try, as soon as you get to June or July, renew that, and then not a problem. Staple both passports together, and you save yourself £500 on transferring the visa to the new passport.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I can renew in England?
Of course you can, renew it in England, no problem. Go to your embassy, Singapore embassy, they'll do it in about 15-20 days.
All right, Cushy, we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. Thank you very much. Zahir in Stoke, good afternoon.
Hi, Steve. I just need some information. My fiancée, she is on student visa here.
Okay.
But we had a baby when she last year she was heavily pregnant, and she by doctor advice she stopped going to college, and we given her to college that paperwork.
What's your status here?
My status is indefinitely.
Right. Okay.
And then baby born, and college we given one other letter to the
Right. So she's technically no longer a student.
She is not student.
Right, okay, so that's... Okay.
That's still 7 months.
Right, so what you want to know is what's her immigration status now?
We apply to Home Office for COA.
That's right, yeah.
Student Notification Department, we told them she is she is not attending any more college due to these reasons.
But is she going to go back to college?
No, we are applying on the basis of...
Have you made your application for a COA?
Yeah, we had a COA application approval for a certificate of approval.
All right, so she's. Are you married now then?
We are married. Yeah.
Right, so just apply to extend her leave.
But if we go in a day service, there is technical issue. The Home Office says they can curtail her leave.
Yeah, that's right, they can. But why you want to go in a day service? Send it by post and see what they say.
Okay, and the second thing is, I'm on the benefits in the child tax credit and working tax credit. Is that will affect her application?
The good news, in spouse cases, child tax credit, child benefit and working tax credit are all exempt. However, if you're on income support and job seekers, then you're going to have a problem.
Okay, then. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, Zahir, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, thank you very much. Justin in Nottingham, good afternoon.
Oh, hello, Nihal, yeah?
How are you?
Yeah, fantastic show. Excellent.
Thank you.
I've been listening for quite some time, yeah? Now, Nihal, I'll get straight to the point. I know you're very, very busy.
Please, thank you.
You might have another session with this visa, applications.
Yes, I think we can probably do a whole week of it, to be honest. But anyway, we will bring Harjap back. Don't worry about that.
All right.
Go on, Justin, what would you like to ask?
I'll get straight to the point, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, my wife's brother, we applied in 2006 for a 2-year working permit.
Working holiday maker.
Working holiday, yeah. But the wife was pregnant at that time, her wife.
Yeah.
So we only applied on an individual basis.
Yeah.
And they said you should have done that as a family.
Right.
So they refused that, yeah?
Okay, yeah.
Now, can he come here for a holiday for 6 months or something? Can I reappeal or...?
Yeah, you can try to apply again. There's no problem. You can apply on that, but what they might refuse it. However, you'll have to go to appeal.
Oh, go to appeal again, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
But what he needs to now show is that he's settled in his country, back home, and that he's in employment, and that he's got income, he's got a family, and that he's only wants to come here for a visit, and he has an intention to go back.
Exactly.
That's what you need to prove.
Right, so we can apply again. You can apply.
Yeah, you can apply as many times as you want. You can apply 50 times in a year if you want to.
All right.
No
so
problem.
that's a very good point, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, one more thing. I have my nephew in India.
Yeah.
Now, if he comes here for a holiday visa,
Yeah.
he's only like 14 years old.
Yeah.
Would that benefit him for a future student visa? Or
Nope, not at all.
No,
'Cause
I
under
don't.
the new point system, it doesn't really matter. They don't take that into account.
Right, so he can come here and go back.
Yep, he can do what he wants.
Right, so would that benefit his student visa? I wouldn't know.
No, doesn't make any effect in application for a student visa.
All right, now, number 3.
Will you make this quick, Justin? Come on, because we've got other...
I'm making it quick, yeah?
Go on.
Now, you know my wife's mum and dad, they want to come for a holiday visa here?
Yeah.
So we just applied when the mum has been here. She came 10 years ago.
Yep.
So if we can reapply...
Just make an application for them.
Here, the application form.
Well, are you both British passport holders?
Oh, yeah, we're brought up here, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
So what I'm saying is, I can just apply as normal, yeah?
Just apply as normal, yep.
yeah, okay. Justin, thank you, mate. I hope that helped.
Yeah, excellent. And one more thing, last thing.
Go on, you're pushing, you're trying your patience here, Justin. Go on, quickly.
Now, we have a PIO card.
Yeah.
What is the best card at the moment?
PIO or OCI? No problem, not much difference.
OCI, excellent, yeah?
Thank you very
Okay, Justin, thank you very much indeed. Luckily, there wasn't a fifth one. You wouldn't
we
have
just
been allowed a
solved this
fifth.
whole family's 6 generations problems,
Okay, hey Nihal, I have a question. I'm a British Asian and want to move to India and live there. My mum is from India and she still has her Indian passport. Do I apply for dual nationality? That's Lucky from Leicester.
Okay, this is a real grey area, right? Because I'm going to need to...
Is Lucky going to be unlucky here?
No, I'm going to clarify it. There's no such thing as dual nationality with Indians and British people. What it's called is you remain a British citizen and they give you something called Overseas Citizenship of India. It's like a certificate that goes in your passport. It gives you every single right that an Indian citizen has, apart from the right to vote and the right to buy agricultural land. And there's the two things that you can't do.
Right.
But you can virtually...
You can buy a house, but you can't buy farmland.
Yeah, because basically if I bought all the agricultural land in India, I'd control the crop.
Yes,
in
right.
India,
No,
and I
that
could
makes sense.
and I could make the country starve, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But so what happens is, you cannot hold two passports. And I know a lot of people are holding two passports, and that's wrong. And that's wrong. And now the Indian government, when you apply for a visa, they're asking for them back, and they're finding people who haven't handed them in. So you're getting a lot of old women out there being fined 1,100 quid, 1,200 quid, 1,500 quid, and this. So what you need to do is go for this overseas citizenship of India. Then you can live in India. You get all the rights as an Indian citizen.
Okay.
You'll never be allowed to vote or buy agricultural land.
That's very important, isn't it? And so do you apply for this form at the Indian
High
Embassy,
Commission in Aldwych, or in a jewellery court, or in Birmingham?
Right.
There's one in Scotland
so
somewhere.
You apply for that, right?
Yeah.
So you'll never get an Indian passport.
You won't get an Indian passport
Unless you give up your British
citizenship.
Right, okay,
That's not advisable for anyone.
Right. Okay.
Their granddads and all that spent all their whole lives trying to get the red passport.
Right.
Yeah.
Fida has said, can you please get answers to the following questions? I'm here on a work permit, Tier 2 general category, and I'm thinking of changing my employer. Would this be a complicated process? Any guidance on this would be extremely helpful.
Whole new application.
Whole new application, right.
Whole new application. Your employer has to make it, make sure he's got the licence, make sure it fits the criteria, then you should be allowed to switch. You need permission to switch before you can switch companies.
Okay, can I just apologise to everybody who's texted and emailed in? We're not going to get to everyone by a long stretch, and I think next time I'll probably stop taking texts and emails around 10 because we're inundated. Okay, one question each, I think, from people. Sanj, my wife is a US citizen. She has indefinite leave to remain in the UK. What would be the procedure for her to obtain a UK-US citizenship? Well, I know that for a fact that they don't recognise them again, do they?
Yeah, you can't have dual nationality. What she can have is British citizenship, and she has to get that 1 year after she's got her indefinite leave to remain.
Well, Sanj, I know exactly what you're saying, because I'm a UK citizen, my wife's a US citizen, she has indefinite leave to remain.
That's brilliant. You've answered the question.
There you go. Hi, I want to call my brother over for my wedding ceremony. What do I have to do, and how much will it cost me to sponsor him? Again, a common one, I can imagine.
Yeah, the sponsorship doesn't really cost anything. You go to a solicitor and he'll make a sponsorship for you, and you send papers over to your brother.
How much do you have to prove you've got in a bank or something like that?
You're asking all the typical questions, and I like that. That's good. Yeah. Right, so you don't need millions in your bank. You need enough to show you can support yourself and you can support him. Alternatively, he has to show he can support himself when he comes in.
What is that as a figure?
There's not a ballpark figure. I mean, if I was to estimate and give some advice on it, I'd say you need about at least £3,000 in your bank.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can show you can pay 500 quid for his airfare in a couple of weeks when he's going to stay here.
I reckon I'll have that in 10 years.
Yeah.
Kinder from
joking,
Epping,
mate. You've probably got it now.
Kinder from Epping said, why has the Indian Embassy suddenly declared that all Indian passports, valid or expired, need to be surrendered at a fee of £90 if you have a British or foreign passport? Well, you touched on that it's happened.
Because you were supposed to do that by law anyway. They're catching up 20 years later.
Right.
What happens was when you used to get British citizenship, the Home Office used to automatically send your passport to them. But now they just return it to you and cut the corners. And now they're saying, right, give it back to us and we'll charge you 90 quid for the benefit.
Right, okay. I've been told there's a government scheme in place granting granting indefinite stay to people from India who are over 34, regardless of means by which they entered the country. Is this true or a con?
No, all a con.
All a con,
Yep.
right.
Wish it was like that, but it's not.
It sounds too good to be true. And
Yeah,
you know what
and it is
happens
too
with
good to be
things that
true.
do? Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. They
it's
are too good to be true. We have run out of time. I've got so much paper. I do apologise for everybody that texts an email. Next time we get Harjap in, please, 2 o'clock on the nose, get those questions in so we can run through as many of them as possible. Harjap, thank you so much, mate.
Thank you very much, Now. It's been a pleasure to be on that.
Of Asian Britain on digital TV, iPlayer and online.
This is BBC Asian Network.